How's it going, everybody? It's your boy Wardy, and we're back at it talking about the Amazons. We're also back at it getting into the latest signings regarding the New York Metropolitans, as this will be a very late night video coming out after we have already seen these signings transpire. We've already done a live show on the Luis Severino signing in particular, so make sure to check that out if you haven't already. Greatly appreciate it, folks, as we did a very thorough breakdown sharing initial reactions on the Severino front. But to expand further, yes, the Mets have signed both Luis Severino and Joey Wendle over the past day. At the time of recording this, Severino signs on a one-year $13 million deal with a potential $2 million bonus, and for Joey Wendle signs a one-year $2 million deal with incentives. So let's get the elephant out of the room. Both these guys are absolutely horrendous in 2023. You know the drill if you've been following along, if you've been following the channel. Luis Severino had a north of a 7 ERA in his final year with the Yanks, and Joey Wendle wasn't even a 50 percentile batter in baseball, which means he is 50% lower than the average player, because average is 100. He was at 47. He was not good. The bat was non-existent. He was a negative 20 plus per Fangraphs offensively. But why did the Mets make these moves, and why should us fans at least have some interest and optimism here for both Severino and Wendle on a much smaller scale? Well, starting with Sevy, as we've broken down thoroughly already, why is there upside here? He's at the age of 29. He is going to be staying in the area, which I like, so it shouldn't be much of an adjustment for him to going from the Bronx to Queens. He rekindles his relationship with Carlos Mendoza, which apparently certainly played a little bit of a factor into decision-making and comfortability. On top of being able to stay in the area and keep his family there is certainly a plus for Severino. And now for the Mets here, they're getting someone who prior to 2023 has been around a career 3.5 ERA pitcher. When out there, even though he struggled with his health the past 4+ years, when out there he has been productive, and you could see in his release points, a lot of things are similar from years past. He just had such a flat 2023 campaign. He was the first to say, yeah, I feel like I'm the worst player imaginable right now, because he was doing his best Carlos Carrasco impression from 2023. Both these guys were giving up home runs galore, and games felt like they were over before it began. But again, what is appealing about Severino is, one, you signed to only a one-year deal. Yes, you could say it's an overpay, but in all seriousness, who really cares when the going market for any starting pitcher is at minimum 10 mil per year, especially on shorter term contracts? So even at a slight overpay, you could argue, is nothing that's going to impact Cohen and the Mets' pursuit for other key starters, more important starters that aren't depth signings like this MLB offseason. He's at the age of 29. We've seen the success he's had in the 2017-2018 seasons, having borderline Cy Young type years with the Yanks during that time, but since then, again, has struggled to stay on the field, is looking to revamp and rejuvenize himself and his game in a different setting, a different scenery, and he'll do that now. Not too far, though, heading this time from the Bronx now to Queens, as he'll be utilized as hopefully number 4, number 5, maybe even a potentially number 6 starter, depending on if the Mets land a Yamamoto and or a Shota Imanaga, who we will be talking plenty of very soon, so stay tuned for that one. But getting back into Luis Severino here, again, makes sense why the Mets took this flyer on a guy only at the age of 29. Still, while there's medium risk, there's certainly upside, and if it doesn't work out, Steve Cohen has shown a willingness in years past to part with guys, especially if they do not pan out, even after spending a good chunk of money on them. Maybe he's a guy that could potentially be a swing man, a bullpen usage, if he does not thrive in the back end of the rotation for the 2024 season. So a lot of question marks with Severino, but given the lack of depth currently in this pitching market, and knowing that there is plenty upside here with Sevy, if he can get back to at least similarly to what he was, where he's touching, you know, mid to high 90s on the gun, solid off-speed pitches. Again, the arsenal's nice, it's not bad whatsoever, but his location and just a lot of things about him with the lack of health in 2023 certainly did not bode him well. So again, question marks, but there is still upside there, and rest assured the Mets will be making plenty more moves for their starting pitching. This is one of many dominoes to fall this MLB offseason. Then getting into Joey Wendle. What is Joey Wendle? In simple terms, he is your Luis Guillorme replacement. Guillorme was not only a negative offensive player in 2023 in limited sample sizes because he wasn't an everyday player, 1, and 2, he dealt with injuries, but also you look at Joey Wendle, what is the difference? He has been a plus defender his entire career, unlike Guillorme, who for the first time in his career was a negative defender this past year. Wendle played all this past season at short there that we saw with the Miami Marlins, however, has played short plenty, plays second base, plays third base, can even play left field, corner outfield if need be. He has plenty more diversity in his ability on the defensive end, which is a plus over Gourmet, who, yes, you could put him there at third. Yes, you could put him at second, but short, he certainly had his struggles at time as well. And you're not going to put Gourmet in the outfield if you really were desperate and need to do that. But not only that, Wendle, while the bat is certainly not there, he is more of a defensive replacement type player. This is exactly what David Stearns was looking for, and key depth, the guys that can help out on the defensive end. No one's looking at Joey Wendle to be an everyday player for the Mets, farthest thing from it, and it wouldn't shock me whatsoever if he doesn't even finish the entire season with the Mets, because you say you have other guys stepping up, whatever it may be. And also, apologies for the highlights. I don't know why after editing them, they ended up being a bit darker than they usually are, so my apologies on that front. Hopefully you can still see them decently well. Wendle, known for being a slap hitter, not known for wearing the gloves, which I do like that old school look. The batter similar to Gourmet, funny enough, so he really is a replacement and is a lefty bat too, so it is quite fitting. But Wendle has over decades worth of MLB experience under his belt, peaked in 2021 in his final year with the Tampa Bay Rays, where they always make something out of nothing. He had himself 11 home runs, over 70 runs scored, 50 plus RBIs, a very respectable campaign there, and since then has fallen off a cliff quite a bit there in his usage with the Miami Marlins. But again, Wendle is not an everyday player at this point in his career, at the age of 33, going to be 34 over the next year, and is someone that would be more of a defensive replacement and a guy that can help out on the bags. He's usually right around the 60 percentile in speed over the past year, so he can help provide you speed as a pinch runner if need be, and a late defensive replacement later in the games, especially when you're trying to shut the door on opposing clubs and have a solid infield defense. This is where Wendle comes into play. No, you're not looking for the bat, and yes, again, there's no guarantees that this guy will even be on the roster all year long. Just a simple pickup to help on the defensive end for the bench for the time being until other guys say step up, or if Wendle does in fact prove himself in a limited role. There isn't really much more that I think needs to be hashed on there, just knowing that he has plenty defensive upside, analytically has been a stud throughout his entire career, and to do that while playing multiple positions pretty consistently over the past number of years is nothing short of impressive. So that in a nutshell is what you're getting in Joey Wendle. You look at the offensive stat line, again, a 212 average, 248 OBP, a 306 slug in 112 games with the Miami Marlins last year. He was absolutely putrid, as was Severino. But you know what? Even though these guys were putrid, thankfully this is not a Will Ponzian regime where these are the biggest splashes the Mets are going to make this offseason. These are strictly depth moves, one for the back end of the rotation, another as quite literally just a defensive replacement, someone that can be utilized in multiple ways in the infield and corner outfield if you really need to. Hopefully the Mets don't have to there. And again, you want as much depth as humanly possible. I'm taking a guy who has a solid track record over the past decade every single day of the week, and I understand why the Mets say prioritize and prefer this route versus say bringing Luis Gourmet back, who does still have plenty of lack of experience at the MLB level, is known as an infield wizard when he is right, but he was anything but that this past season, and it just seemed like things were souring a little bit there. And Gourmet, I'm sure, for his career path, wants to be playing every day. He may get a better opportunity certainly elsewhere with a lesser club for 2024 and beyond. So Mets fans, I want to know your initial thoughts about these latest moves for the Mets and acquiring both Luis Severino and Joey Wendle on one-year deals. Stay tuned. We have a plethora of content coming out. This very well could be the first of, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5 videos that come out over the next 24 hours, not including live streams. There's so much news happening, so many rumors, and we're covering it all to an absolute T. So to everyone that first watched this video as it came out, probably around 2 a.m. Eastern or so, shout out to you on November 30th. And if you're watching it later in the day, then that's okay. It means you got your sleep as you should, as I'm going to be grinding content probably for a good remainder of the night. So thank you all again for the endless support. Mets sign Luis Severino and Joey Wendle. Let's see what is next for the team in Queens. I'll talk to you again real soon. Peace out, folks.